here at Culver we're unique because we really want to encourage our kids to do multiple sports. And I think it's good for the kids to try different things.
2 to 3 seasons of the year I row, crew, and then during the winter I swim.
I'm involved in several sports, but right now it's skeet shooting and swimming.
When I was in high school, I did multiple sports. I played football and wrestled, did track 1 year just to try it. So I tried different things and it was good for me. And I feel, I excelled at all of those and never had a problem with it. Yes, because you have to look at the finished product that we have. The kids that leave here that have played multiple sports, that have done well academically, that have had leadership positions. I've worked with a number of those guys.
One thing that Culver really emphasizes is, the education. You also have to be a good student as well as a good athlete. So I feel like the girls on the team are also smarter than a lot of hockey players I've played with before.
All schools are usually academics before athletics. Here at Culver, I think they're equally balanced because you have hockey teams that are nationally ranked, state champions, and then you also have lacrosse teams that are very good as well.
I think Culver is a really special place in that aspect, in that we can be more than just an athlete, we can be more than just a student, we can be student athletes. It goes with the whole mission of rounding the person as a whole, as opposed to only being good at one thing, only being good at one sport, or only being an athlete, or only being a student. I think we find a nice balance, and we are able to excel at both if we are able to focus on both.
Being involved at Culver, I find all of those activities are always conflicting and fighting over time between each other. I don't know if other people see it that way, but every single time it's like, with swimming we have to get there on the dot because, we only get this time, and if we go over it, academic people are going to flip, or people from student life, they're going to be like, yo, you're overworking this kid. So I think Culver just creates a frantic environment for everything. It's hard to balance it, but I think in the long run it helps you really prioritize what you want to do and make sure you use your time efficiently, even if we're always running from place to place, and I think sports kind of helps into that.
I think the large events, let's take Spirit Games, for example. I think a large all-campus event like that helps break the momentum of the day and provides another momentum in a different direction, have something to look forward to. It's something that we all look forward to being together and competing. Other events, you put something on the calendar and it gives you a project or gives you a deadline to look forward to doing something. And so those events are very important. Every event that we do is not just in a category of fitness or physical health. It's also relational. We want people to do things together. We want people to appreciate each other. And so when our students or our adults come together, it's nice to see them meeting new people or gaining an appreciation for other people on campus and what they do that they might not have otherwise found out about because they would not have come to that event. And so it's very important that we look at it holistically.
And you have to balance, and you have to help students through that, psychological time when they start to struggle. Because at the end of the day, the athletics are here to provide you an opportunity, to provide you an outlet, to provide you leadership opportunities, to excel physically, to be on a team and learn how to work with others, to experience success, to win championships. And all of those things are positives. And so athletics are important. But again, you have to balance that with academics. Academics are, they definitely are more important than the athletic side. The athletic side just adds to the Culver mission and to that end product.
If I could really describe Culver sports in one word, it would honestly be teamwork, because I see a lot of teamwork here on and off the field or on and off the court, just with the interaction of athletes. Just with athletics, just with the military, we don't get through these things by ourselves, and a lot of time it's that teammate that helps get you through the practice, through the game, things like that. So I see that more here than I probably did in my own high school than I did in college, because in those regards it was more, what can I do by myself, what can I achieve by myself. But I think here it's more of that team atmosphere that we use in leadership, that we use in the classroom, that really trickles down into athletics.
Well, I would say in wrestling, it's actually very unique, because in a normal situation, if you have baseball, you have softball, right? If you have boys basketball, you have girls basketball. So in normal settings, guys and girls are separated. Now, in wrestling, we're at that stage in wrestling where wrestling's been around for the ages. And it's always been a male-dominated sport. Not until just recently did females start to wrestle. And it's becoming more popular. They've added it to the Olympics. There's now opportunities for girls to wrestle in college, but that is girls wrestling girls. Okay, so still at the high school level, the only opportunity that a girl has, or a female has, is to join the boys wrestling team. So it's unique, it's different, but when it comes down to it, we have a standout female athlete here that's on the wrestling team, Kayla Miracle, and when she came in, she blended right into the team because she was able to wrestle well. You know, she did a good job, and she's been around wrestlers her whole life, so it wasn't a hard transition for her. Now on the flip side of that, we've had wrestlers that have come in, and girl wrestlers that have just tried it. And, you know, we're not going to turn them away, so we allow them to wrestle, which is, you know, I support that. And it was a learning experience for them. But I will say this, that some of my toughest persons in the wrestling room have been females. They show up every day, they get right to it, and they get to work. And we've had some tough boy wrestlers too, but I have been impressed with how they've performed in our wrestling room.
I know there are stories of 10-year-old football phenoms, little girl football phenoms that play football with boys and they're better than them. So I think when women enter the sphere with men, I think when they do well, it's more impressive than if a man was to enter a woman's sphere and be better than them just because they're a man.
Well, I think it just depends on, I don't know if it has as much to do with the gender as opposed to the knowledge of the sport. For instance, we had a girl, it was a female coach, that came here to work with Kayla. And she happened to be an Olympian from the Beijing Olympics. So how can anybody sit there and say, hey, you're not qualified to coach us? Well, sorry, but she is. And she did. She did a phenomenal job. You know, I learned a lot from her, and it was a good experience.
Like, I would follow them, but I'm sure if there were a time where, like, say I didn't agree with it, and I was probably, like, in a bad mood, I'd probably bicker about it and blame the fact that she's a woman to go against it. I believe that there should be a thing as girls' sports, but I also do believe that girls' sports are not the same caliber as guys' sports, because, I mean, if you watch just, like, WNBA, for example, because that's, like, the only female professional sport I can think of, there's just, personally, like, a dramatic difference between the NBA and the WNBA. But I do believe that there should be professional girls sports, because I believe they should have the same opportunity we do.
I think for our CGA athletes, it's a big difference, you know, not having that female representation. And I've talked to a lot of the girl athletes, and they would feel more comfortable with a female coach at some points during practice or during the year, and sometimes they just don't feel as comfortable addressing some issues with the male coaches. So I think that's kind of our biggest challenge right now, is just more female representation as far as coaches go. I think, you know, I'm more cautious when I coach with girls. With guys, I can kind of just tell them to buck up, get through it. And I think with girls I'm a little more sensitive, and I think I'm a little more understanding, and I think I'm a little more flexible, or I kind of change the way I coach and I handle the athlete. So I have noticed a big difference with some girls and then coaching boys. Now there are some girls that I feel more comfortable kind of, using the same mentality coaching a boy. Like some of my female sprinters, I can use that same mentality, but I really do have to kind of adjust and change my coaching strategy when I'm dealing with boys versus girls. It's tough resulting in their performance. I think I could probably push the CGA girls a little harder than what I do. I think I have a natural tendency to push the boys a lot harder because, being a male, I kind of understand, or think I understand their mentality a little more than the female side. So I don't think I push the girls as much as I do the boys, and that then reflects in their performance maybe on race day.
I do. I think it's a little bit more different. I mean, especially Major Duckett, he just keeps himself more distant in a way. He cracks a joke or a few things, but he always keeps his like posture as like a coach. Coach Gerard, well, Callie, it's a little bit more informal. I mean, you see her in the classroom. She has like mentees and stuff, so she's a little bit more open. She's younger too, so I think it's not that the guys or the girls don't respect her that much. I think they just feel more comfortable around her. Maybe they don't just see her as a coach. They might see her as a friend or a mentor too.
If I could really describe Culver Sports in one word, it would honestly be teamwork, because I see a lot of teamwork here on and off the field or on and off the court, just with the interaction of athletes. Just with athletics, just with the military, we don't get through these things by ourselves, and a lot of time it's that teammate that helps get you through the practice, through the game, things like that. So I see that more here than I probably did in my own high school than I did in college, because in those regards it was more, what can I do by myself, what can I achieve by myself. But I think here it's more of that team atmosphere that we use in leadership, that we use in the classroom, that really trickles down into athletics.
So, I'm not really sure if gender matters, and that's my same philosophy with having a female on the team. If you're going to come in and you're going to work hard and you're going to wrestle hard and you're going to perform, then by all means, join the team and be a part of it.
It depends, because yes, I believe in it if they actually have the potential to go professional, but if they specialize in it just to specialize in it, to go after a dream that's not realistic, then no, I do not believe in it.
I've been skating since I was 2, and then I did figure skating up until I was 7, and then I did ice hockey, and I hated it at first. I absolutely hated it. And then I stuck with it and I really liked it. That's actually, I don't support specialization. Like, I spent so much time before I came to Culver just focusing on hockey. But then I wish I had played other sports too. Like, it was hard coming to Culver and everyone was like 3-sport athletes, and I only ever really played hockey. And I just think it's better if you play 3 sports because you meet more people and you learn a lot of, skills that you can apply to hockey. So.
I think it's a case-by-case thing, especially if you have an ultra-talented athlete. I think then in order to meet their needs as an athlete, you should do all that you can to make sure that they blossom and to make sure that they their potential can be unlocked. So I think it's an individual thing. Most people, winter for them is depressing here at Culver. And because of swimming, it's the happiest time of the year for me.
I would like to play college hockey. I don't know if like Division 1 or Division 3 yet, but it's like one thing for girls is you can only play it in college. And I guess you can play in the Olympics, but you don't get money specifically for that. So unlike guys where they can go in the NHL, girls can't. So there's not much opportunity after college for it.
I actually kind of fell into to track my freshman year of high school. I was on the football team, and the football coach said, hey, if you're not doing a winter sport, if you're not doing a spring sport, you're going to go out and try out for the track team. So that's kind of how I fell into track. And I actually found out that through my 4 years of high school, that I was actually a better track runner than I ever was a football player. I didn't see the field, very much on game day. So I kind of fell into track. my freshman year and found some pretty quick success with it. I felt like I was a pretty good athlete, a pretty good runner right from the get-go. So I did that for 4 years. And then I actually wound up doing track in college as well at the D3 level. I knew I was never going to be a D1 athlete, but I wanted to kind of participate in track. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed pushing myself to my limits, and I enjoyed seeing what I could accomplish, on race day. So I think for me, doing football and track in high school gave me just a broader perspective of different coaching styles and different techniques for training. And I think the biggest thing is that without specializing, I got a break. So I did football for the fall season, and then I took a break from football and that coaching staff and that style of training, and then I adapted in January, February, March with different coaches, a different group of athletes, and a different training style. So I think it just kind of broadened how I trained, taught me different skills. Football was more lateral, back and forth movements, while track it was more front and back movements. So I think functionally it helped me adapt as an athlete doing multiple sports rather than just sticking with one sport, football or track the entire year round.
I think it's important to focus on something that you're good at, but also be willing to try other things. Waverly focused on cross country and track, although she did play basketball when she was little. Landrum also likes other sports too. I mean, he likes soccer, he likes football. But I think you begin to kind of find out something that you really enjoy doing and then put the time into it and getting some fruits from your labor back as a dividend. And so, I think that being able to try and being willing to try new things. I have a little guy too who's 8 and he runs, but we like being outdoors as a family. We like canoeing and then maybe running back to the truck to get the truck to take to the canoe and get the canoe back. We like hiking and running part of the hiking, just being outside. I think maybe that's why we like running so much, because it's kind of a metaphor of life. You just continue plowing through and getting better at it, hopefully, and being well, and you learn a lot about yourself. I know a few years ago I was in an accident and I couldn't run for 30 days. And I'd run ever since I was 14, so that had been like almost 35, 38 years I had run. And not only did I miss it physically, but mentally and spiritually I missed it too, because those long runs help me as a person. They help me reflect. They help me to see where I failed and where I need to get better. They help me solve problems. And I just come back usually a better person because of it. So it's just a well-rounded kind of a sport.
I think it's a sad development, mostly because the people that take them obviously are insecure, and they obviously are searching for validation and searching for verification that they are good athletes.
Well, I haven't heard of anyone in hockey necessarily use it, but I do know that in the past decade or two that they've been big in baseball. And I don't really necessarily agree with them, and I understand why people use them, because I know, especially people towards the end of their careers, since they're not in their glory days per se anymore, they want to take them just to be back in the moment and be as good as they once were. But I mean, I don't think that they're correct or justifiable to use, because they're giving you basically a fake talent and a fake skill set that you don't necessarily have. It's not necessarily who you are.
And I don't see how taking those drugs is worth it to them. I don't see how the risk of a reward ratio plays out.
For me, I never took things like even protein or creatine, and I know those are legal, but I never wanted to dabble in those because I never wanted my performance to really depend on what supplements I was taking.
It's been such a black eye, to our country and many countries, for that matter. It was prevalent when I was competing, maybe not as much. in the know, although it happened a lot. You couldn't quite identify it, couldn't quite figure out how it was happening or who was doing it. A lot of experimental stuff going on, whereas right now, it's pretty much categorized and systematic, and there's all kinds of testings for that now. It's unfortunate that people feel they have to do that to compete. They put the pressure. I'm not sure many people go into it thinking they're going to take performance-enhancing drugs. I think most people feel like they can do it the honest way and train, and feel like if they just train harder and stay consistent with it, that things are going to happen. But for many, it eventually changes in them. Like maybe they feel like they need an advantage, or someone else is doing it and they realize what's happened to them and how it's helped them, so they're willing to experiment, and then before long, they're in it with both feet. And I think that's so unfortunate. And then they have to carry that guilt and that frustration with them all, during their competition, the fear of getting caught. And so it never outweighs the benefits of it. I hope that eventually within 10 years or less that it won't even be an issue, that people will be able to know that the level platform is there for all, and that the guidelines are in place so that it's fair competition for each person who competes.
I think it's kind of a poor choice. I think sports is all about showing what your body out of its natural limits and natural training can achieve. If you enhance it with certain substances, I think it loses a little bit of the point of it, because then if you're using that, what stops you from using flippers in swimming?
I really did stay away from all that stuff just to see what I could do and how I could perform on my own.
A true athlete should focus on eating healthy and being healthy. Part of the reason that I got into being an athlete was that I was health conscious. I wanted to be healthy throughout my life, and it taught me good strategies on, one, how to exercise, how to work out, and how to eat properly. And if I'm going to go and take performance-enhancing drugs, I can't believe that supports my mission of being a healthy person.
For me, it was just I wanted to see what I could accomplish on my own, just through training and hard work rather than forms of supplementation. Even caffeine, I know caffeine's a banned substance if you take too much of it. So
if you're gonna cheat, I don't know why you're doing sports, because then it's not fair. Just don't do drugs. It's stupid. You end up getting caught. It's not worth it. No.